Clickety clack, lava cat. Clickety clack, lava cat. There he goes. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It is July 6th, 2022. What? What's the ope?
Nothing, just the classic. Forgot to mute myself.
Or
mute the video.
That was the whole thing for the clickety clack.
And somehow it's always twice as loud.
Wait, no, we didn't hear the video.
Clack, and then over the video, clack, clickety clack.
On the YouTube.
Oh, you mean? Oh, I understand. Yeah.
On
Bart's
YouTube.
here.
Yeah.
Wouter's here. Bart, David, BC Paul. What's going on?
Welcome,
nice to have everybody here. It's another episode of this thing we do. The game is up. What the heck does that mean, Small Brown Fox?
Do you mean the Boris game, Small Brown?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
That's why I've come to the UK. I've come to just sit and watch the government burn.
Look how handsome Ben looks today. It's ridiculous. What was that? It's insane. Come on. We're coming in at the beginning. Camille's coming in at the beginning with 5.
Unbelievable.
Is that euros? I think. Yes. For the booze. Always. Thank you,
euros,
Camille, for that.
Really, any other currency than US is getting more and more attractive by the day.
Well, no. The pound slipped so far against the dollar at the moment. It's I was listening to on the news today.
Finally. Now it's time to go see my family.
Yeah, it's like 1.1 or something. Not even that, 1.07. Yeah.
Oh, what?
I love it. 1 to 1.
To the dollar?
Yeah, it was at 1.1.
I feel like not that long ago it was close to 2.
Well, most of the time I've been on, it's like 1.6 to 1.7.
1.617.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
well,
yes, BC Paul, you can come out right with the questions at the beginning. Whether we answer them right away, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yes,
or if
absolutely
we fixate on them.
Yes, but just put an at the C47 there. Camille's got a MKH 50. I'm sure you are happy with it. Great microphone. Mitch, hey, what's happening? Taking the logo. BC Paul, let's do it. There's a spot for that. This is the spot. There's no rules here at Camera and Flask, except for at the beginning of the show, I'm Jem. That's Caleb. And that's Ben. Caleb's the other bald guy with glasses. Ben's the person with hair and glasses. Yes. And James is here. Let's drink. That's time for this. Daniel's here. Brandon's here.
Brandon, what's up? James?
Inside the house behind Ben, there's a little family doing lines of coke. Well, yeah, but in the house that's behind him too. Is that a house behind you in that oval frame? There.
No, I don't know what's reflecting off that. No, that's maybe this. No.
What's in that picture then?
It's a landscape.
You just touched on the other side.
Picture.
Your laptop, maybe.
It wasn't Jeremy on the boat during the pandemic. Wait, I didn't say that out loud. Okay, let's go ahead and start. Who's going first today? Who's going first? Is it Ben? Let's go, Ben. What you drinking?
All right.
Come on, you handsome man. Oh, hey now. Wait, turn it. Oh, what is that? Tell us.
Connemara peated
yummy
single malt Irish whiskey.
Ooh, very nice. Very nice.
So that was one that my mum bought on the way back from Spain on the ferry.
Very nice. It just sounds like The Godfather when they open that bottle of wine in the restaurant. There it is.
Oh,
yeah. Yep, Zeotrope. Sound library. Oh, me. I'm gonna go with. I'm going with what I had last week, gentlemen. This is like my favorite now. This is 1792
nice.
Full proof. 125. So you'll see that there's quite a lot of water in this glass. You need it. It's rocket fuel, kids. So that's what I'm having. What about you, Caleb? What are you having?
I am having something that you can clearly see I've enjoyed. Classic Caleb amount remaining.
What is that? Is that like 3 drops? Wait a second. That's not even a drink. You're like, I'm looking forward to having a drink today.
There's
Come
a little
on.
bit in there.
Oh,
the first drink I've had in a little while, so I need to take it easy here with my inflammation.
Right,
but it's a rare breed from Wild Turkey, barrel proof rye. non-chill filtered. What do we got here? 112 proof.
Oh yeah, you're almost up to me. Love it.
Wow.
So you're like barrel. You're like cast strength.
Really, really delicious. So if you're into ryes, I've been on a huge rye kick, and this one has been absolutely delightful. So I'll just go ahead and
listen.
That bottle is testament to the rye kick you've been on recently.
Yeah, it's one of those like I'll save just enough for the show, and then I just kept going a little bit, just a taste, and here we are.
Now, this is a problem with doing this once a month, but Caleb, I will say that if you can pick up a bottle of that 1792 full proof, that bourbon, it's about $50 US, probably the best value in a really good bourbon that I've found in a very long time. It's going to go up in price, is my guess at some point, because I think the secret's
with everything else
to get
in the
out.
world.
Yes. So, gentlemen,
Gentlemen,
to
been
friends.
a long time.
Yeah, it has.
Cheers.
Sláinte. Cheers.
Sláinte. All right. Okay. So let's see what we've got here. We have got
James is asking if there's a bit of a bias towards whiskey, and what do we think of gin? I like gin. Gin and tonics.
Gin is delicious.
Gin is delicious.
Yeah,
I mean, it's basically it's a vodka with juniper berries in its most basic. Well, more than that, but come on. Yes, I know, but I mean, it's let's just throw
I
some.
don't think I've had vodka in
I did that just to get you
3
all
years.
Look at you. That's true.
It's been a
And
long
I haven't
time.
had gin in a long time.
Gin is delightful.
I like tequila, but I like mezcal a lot too. Mezcal is when I'm in the mood for something smoky.
Gin's great that's a kind of early evening drink. It's after 11 here right now, so it's too late for gin.
Yep.
Because you have to drink it with tonic.
Bedtime
Tonic
juice.
makes you giddy. Yeah. Gin makes me really. That's like an energy drink for me.
Yeah. Vodka. Well, it's vodka based, so I'm the same way. When I have vodka.
you ever looked at what's in tonic, by the way?
Oh, it's
the amount of
quinine.
sugar in tonic is
But
insane.
there's a lot of quinine in there too. That's like the key ingredient, that taste.
It is. But the sugar thing, because it's so bitter, you've no idea how much is in there. But I also had a realization that it's not that good for you.
Is there any? There's no caffeine in it, though, right?
There's what?
I don't know.
There's no caffeine,
the sugar
right?
content alone
I don't
is
think
like
so.
loaded. Yeah, so sparkling water is definitely the way you want to go. Which someone is who was doing that earlier.
Maybe David.
Putting some.
David was having an Elijah Craig rye with sparkling.
There we
water.
go.
All right.
Okay. I mean,
We got a couple of questions. Couple of questions here. Mario. I say Mario. You say Mario. Hope all is well. I'm currently I'm getting into underwater filming and was wondering what camera would you recommend for a beginner? Well, I mean, you're generally going to shoot wide lens, right? I mean, I know nothing about underwater photography, but I will say you're generally going to probably shoot a wider lens. The AF systems are so strong on new cameras that maybe you don't have to. But what would you say? I mean, would you just start with like a beginner with like a GoPro or an action camera, or would you go housing and then like go all in with the APS-C? No, I'm saying beginner though.
Well, okay, so there's a halfway house. I've been down this route a little bit.
Okay.
You can get housings from a company called, I think, CNC, if I remember rightly, who make, it's kind of a glorified plastic bag. So this thing's very heavy duty, it's polyurethane, and it has a glass front on it then you get a filter type thing, which is just a clip-in adapter, which locks your lens in. So you screw that into the lens, that then locks into the glass front of the bag. The rest of the bag, you put your body in and roll it up. Now, you haven't got an awful lot of control with this. It's a little numb trying to push buttons. But as a thing to have a try with, see how it looks, they're fairly inexpensive. And then you're going up dedicated housings, which have every button, every control of the camera replicated on the housing, which you're talking an awful lot more money. You're into thousands of dollars for that stuff.
Now, what about the camera to go into that?
Yes. Where you kind of, what have you got? What are you using?
Well, that's the question he has. He says, wondering what camera would you recommend for a beginner? So
I guess it's the thing is I don't know if recommending one specifically for this, but I know that most of the things that we would be using normally work fairly well under there. Things that are good low light. I was reading a nice article about the R5 and R5C being used in that way quite a lot recently.
So here, I have a question for you, Ben. I know that some of the Canon cinema cameras will go extremely high in terms of, white balance settings and Kelvin settings. But aren't there some of their mirrorless cameras that actually have specific, maybe it's not just Canon, it's other manufacturers that have settings that have to do with white balancing for underwater?
Yeah.
Because it's very different.
A lot of cameras have that. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a preset. I'm not sure if this does. I haven't noticed. But yeah, a lot of cameras have
Panasonic
that.
and Sony, or at least Panasonic has like an underwater. They even have an underwater auto, so it's an auto for underwater.
Okay. Yeah. And I don't think you're really, Mario, looking for, it's not necessarily about, full frame APS-C, micro four thirds. I mean, you want to see what's underwater unless you're shooting long lens. You want to see that world. So, if you go really wide lens, then maybe the AF is not as much of a consideration. You can be at a 5.6 to an 8. But if you are going with a normal lens, then I would say, would you say that AF would be probably important, Ben, or not?
Yeah, I guess so. Because then that's the nice thing about the housings and using it that way, and you can use shallow glass, and the AF's going to work nicely, and that's a great thing. The other thing that I've seen recently, and I can't remember where it was, they'd set up tracks and they were doing dolly moves with the the weird Lauer lens. They'd somehow got the housing,
the probe one,
with the probe lens, and then they'd set up tracks on the seabed and weighted the thing, and they were doing these amazing dolly shots through reef and fish and stuff. It was incredible.
You need some light. You need some real light on that lens, though, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing, so if you're just wanting if you're wanting to do things at that kind of standard, if you're wanting to do things commercially or getting into that, I guess those are the kind of cameras. But there's also loads of compact cameras which will go down quite a long way if you're just wanting to have a play. I bought my wife a camera a few years ago. It was one of the. I bought it so that she could go use it with the kids, and if the kids knocked it off the table, it wasn't going to smash. It was I think that was a Panasonic. I can't remember the exact model number, but that thing's great. We take that on holiday all the time and go snorkeling and diving down 3, 4, 5 meters, and it works great. So for a play, something like that might be a good thing just to have an experiment, see if you like doing it.
Yep.
Nice. James dropping a donation there.
Speaking of
pounds, $4.49. Unfortunately, I need to go, but love these streams. I'll pick up the rest tomorrow. Enjoy your dreams.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
thank
cool.
you so much, James.
James
very
is
much
fantastic.
Yes, thank you, James, for everything. I got to scroll back up here because BC Paul started this conversation. Yeah, go for it.
Even before BC Paul dropped his actual question, we've got Mitch here. Mitch Lazorco recently started using C-Log 3 instead of C-Log on my R6. Would you guys recommend Rec 709 or Cinema Gamut?
Cinema.
Yeah.
100%.
Because 100%. Yeah, because you're going to get the widest color matrix there. You're going to the widest color space, and then you're going to probably LUT it anyway unless you're going to go in and start, messing with things. And that's a great combination is Canon Log 3 and Cinema Gamut. And then you're going to obviously take all of that information and put it into most likely a Rec 709 or P3 space when you get into post. But yeah, if you can do it, unless you're shooting at very, very low data rates, but as long as you're shooting at like 400 megabits per second, I would say all day long C-Log 3.
It depends on the camera too.
Yeah, like exactly.
Panasonic, I'm happy to go down to 150.
That's interesting. IPB. You say that. Yeah, the same thing with like Fuji.
But it's still 422 10-bit, so there's all those combinations of settings, right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, Fuji's pretty amazing at 100 megabits per second. We're doing all of our stuff green screen with that camera, and with the noise reduction and stuff. We're not even using C-Log for that stuff. We're basically using a film simulation, and it's pretty amazing what you can get out of it. But yeah, so
F-Log.
F-Log, new F-Log coming with the H2S. Oh, I'm getting a camera in soon to start testing. So that Fuji,
fun.
Yeah, that should be
sweet.
Fun. A few mentions of the new C200 in the questions, in the comments. Did you see that this week on the rumor mill?
What?
Oh, no, I have not.
What?
So apparently it sounds like it's a C300 Mark III with an EF and an interchangeable EF and RF mount is the rumor. It's a slightly odd thing. I'm not entirely sure where it fits into things now. Things have kind of moved on, but I'm kind of interested.
Yeah.
Price point.
You think it's actually coming?
I don't know. It seems there's been
I'm excited
a lot of talk the last 2 days.
What are you excited for?
It's way more affordable, but that new R7. I'm super stoked to have like budget decent. If it's what it's looking to shape up to be, it's like a 7D in 2022.
Yeah,
that doesn't suck. Hopefully,
and overheat. Hopefully,
yeah, right.
Yeah, which it shouldn't. Yeah, you don't want another 7 that overheats. They already had that.
I feel like we've been way too full frame happy up in here for too long. So I'm excited to have talk about budget cameras again.
Yeah,
they're slightly more affordable.
Well, it could. There is. Yeah. Let's see. Are you doing it?
C200 Mark II set to be released 2023. Switchable RF EF mount.
Gee, that's exciting.
Same sensor as the C300. Same connections. Compatible SDI. Interchangeable EF and RF mounts. Interesting. So this would be the very first RF cinema camera, right? Outside of the C70.
Well, C70. Yeah, C70, but that doesn't. Yeah.
But it's interchangeable. It sounds like they're gonna have good.
I was going to say, but the interesting thing with that to me is using EF mount glass with the RF mount, and then you can use the focal reducer. The speed booster thing that they do. I guess they would make that compatible with.
Right.
In theory.
So you can be you're getting full frame-ish coverage on.
But they're already doing it with the C70. Yeah.
They are already doing it with the C70, but it's kind of weird.
I wonder if the reason...
What's strange, why have it C200? Why have an EF mount at all? Now.
Well, my guess is I have a buddy who has the full set of Canon Cine Primes, the EFs. So my guess is if you had an RF cinema camera, they're thinking, okay, these guys are going to put that little $100 plastic adapter on there and start sticking on these massive lenses. So they probably want a bolt-on positive lock.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because remember the original C500 Mark I, I think it was. It had an interchangeable mount, and you could it had a locking. Remember it had but it also was the camera that had the locking EF mount, which they got rid of. Which was amazing. It was the only camera that they ever came out with in the Cinema EOS. Yeah, and the OG 500 had an option where you could put a locking. It turned the opposite direction of a PL mount camera, but it was essentially the same thing. You put an EF mount lens in there, and you turned it, and it was rock solid. I mean, you could put a monster lens on there, and they stopped doing it, and they should have definitely kept that. Definitely something that I think was a mistake, but. Who am I to say?
Well, I wonder what happened. If what happened is they turned around and watched everyone just put little EF lenses on their cinema camera, and they're like, whatever.
24 to 105. All right, BC Paul, laughing out loud, I wasted my question. I'm wanting to improve my lighting and thinking of getting into big frames and silks might be the next step. What size is best for small team, 1 to 2 people, 4x4, 6x6, 8x8? And Brandon, Bart kind of answered this to a degree. For interior stuff, it really depends what you're shooting. I think 4x4s are a great option for a lot of interview-based stuff, but I really love to do a 6x6 when I'm shooting an interview. But I will say this, I don't always, BC Paul, put it in a frame. I'll oftentimes just take a 6x6 silk and basically just, especially like ones from Matthews, which have those elastic corners, I'll just stretch it between two C-stands and I'll just side key somebody from a 6x6 and just screw the frame. What's great about the Scrim Jim Cine stuff is I also don't always use the whole frame. So if I'm using a floppy cutter, sometimes I'll just basically T-bar it. I'll just have one across the top and I'll just clamp it and then I'll just put the floppy on there. So you don't have to build the whole frame. So, there's definitely ways that you can use these as erector sets. And there's some other options out there on the market. You've got Chimera has a nice, very lightweight 4x4 frame that has that breaks down. It's not great for exterior stuff, and that's why I like Scrim Jim Cine for outside. It's it's a 1 inch by 1 inch aluminum tube, so it's really good for both interior and exterior, but it is a little bulkier. So there's like pluses and minuses to all of this stuff, but I do like the modularity of Scrim Jim Cine. You can build different size frames and then just get different fabrics for them. And even though Westcott makes some great fabrics, sometimes I'll build a 4x4 and I'll go ahead and get magic cloth and I'll put that onto that same frame because there's no reason why 100%
what I was just gonna say.
Yeah. You're not beholden to one company's thing for sure.
Like Jem turned me on to magic cloth, or was the final push for me to actually buy some. So you can buy it on B&H in 6x6, 8x8, and larger, giant. And then, honestly, like a 8x8, because you don't have to use the whole thing, but a 6x6 or 8x8, and then either this stand from Impact or this one, can do a lot of damage for just like booming it out. It's cloth, so it's super lightweight, and then you just boom it out, clamp it, and you're done. And since it's like a heavier fabric, it's got the ties and everything. It's awesome. Love it.
Yep. Camille's asking, what's my all-time, well, this is for all of us, favorite microphone and camera? That's a hard one. The Sheps one that I borrowed from B&H recently, that was $1,800. The CO1, that was probably my favorite mic, but I don't own it. I really like the, MKH 416's a fantastic mic. The 50's great. Sennheiser, you can't do wrong for sort of that $1,000 to $1,500 price range. And then if you're going below that, actually quite happy with the NTG5. But it's also sometimes where your signal chain goes. That going through a MixPre 6.2 with noise assist in this type of environment is a lot different than not having that. And quiet preamps and, all of the goodness that comes out of one of those boxes can make a big difference as well, I think. Gentlemen, what about you?
Of all time, as in like for the camera that I've owned and enjoyed the most, I would have to go with, for camera, I'll do microphone. So the MKH 416.
Yeah.
I use it for everything. It just sounds great. I know it's boring. It's like the microphone that everyone talks about, but it's super durable. It's like, you'll pass that on multiple times until it breaks. Totally. Camera wise, I own the C100 Mark I, but recently for the first time, or I don't know, last year, did a video on the C100 Mark II, and that'd probably be my favorite camera of all time. From a pick up and go and enjoy using it through and through, it'd be that camera probably.
Yeah, and I forgot on camera for me, it's a tough one. Part of this is nostalgia, but I would say DVX 100 series for sure. EX1 did me right for a long time, but that C100, it was just the workhorse. Had two of them. Sold that FS700 for another C100 Mark I, and it's got a lot of issues. But I will tell you what's really interesting about that camera, and you probably found this out too, Caleb, is that 4K sensor that resolves to 1080 is quite sharp. And we talk about the C200 and it's pretty soft, and it's pretty interesting to see that, which is, I think, one of the reasons why the R5C is such an interesting camera, because you've got that 8K sensor, but people are shooting in 4K and they're getting just an incredibly sharp image with it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I got to say. And of course, the C5, I mean, you can't say that the 5D Mark II obviously is big part of that too. But yeah. All right. What about you?
Nostalgic.
Yeah. For sure.
Microphones, the 416 for sure. But like in terms of just favorite for like overall sound quality, yes. But in terms of microphones that make life easier or change the way you work, the wireless go-tos have probably been the biggest ease of a lot of the run and gunny sort of stuff that I do. Really small crews, me and maybe one other. The ability to just place those super quick. They're so resistant to getting rustle from clothes on them, dropping them into the top pocket of someone's shirt, and just being able to grab quick sound bites, quick interviews. Really, really solid. And using that with the Video Mic NTG, using 2 channels, so being able to boom one wirelessly with one of those channels, having the other one just stuffed in a pocket. Such a versatile, amazing system. And on the same vein, so cameras wise, all-time cameras, like my Mamiya RB67 was which is not video, but that was the camera that I loved the most, I would say, from a kind of purely emotional point of view. But the camera that's allowed me to change the way that I work the most is the R6 that is pointing at me right now.
Yeah.
Because it is so versatile. The in-body image stabilization is great on it. The image off that camera just looks phenomenal for the size of the thing, for what I can do with it, using that with EF glass with the variable ND adapter. It's so easy to use. It's so easy to use handheld, as if you're on a tripod. I mean, I don't walk around with it using it. You need a gimbal for that. That's not how these things work. But in terms of just being able to get statics or gentle pans, that kind of stuff, just the handheld, you get so much more out of a day with that thing, and it has changed the way that I work enormously. I love that camera so much.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just a shout out to Mario. Thank you very much for $9.99. Glad we could help, or at least get you started on your way when it comes to your underwater stuff and what you're doing.
Nice.
BC Paul has a question for you, Caleb. Do you see that? I'm a new A7 IV class member. Has your opinion on the best cage for the camera changed since you made the course?
Oh, yeah, probably the same. There's really no good. I was actually just, do you guys remember Lock Circle?
Yeah. Why don't
Lock Circle?
No, I've heard of them.
They were like the sexy, cool kids when it came to cages back in the day. But they've just kind of disappeared, or they're still out there, but they're not making. Long story short, my beef right now, and I talked to the guys at Wooden Camera about this. My beef right now is we have all these companies making these super custom cages, which I love. Because remember back in the DSLR days, there was like 2 universal cages, and they're rough. So it's awesome to see all these custom cages, but they're all like made for influencers. They're like this thin metal band. They're trying to make it as like tiny as possible with like a handful of threads. And what I want is just a fat like top plate with a ton of horizontal and front and back. Like if you're looking down at the top of your camera, I want to be able to put a NATO rail horizontally or vertically.
Right.
Or anything. And none of them do that. And I reached out to these guys to be like, hey, do you guys still exist? This is their website. It's a little confusing. But they haven't done anything since the A7S. But like as an example, like to give you an idea of their design, kind of aesthetics, and like there's just mounting points everywhere.
Yeah.
Look at all those front firing. Look at all those. You could rig anything up with that. So I was hoping that they still had something, but they don't, and not for like A7S III or A7 IV, but they have all kinds of crazy stuff. Different cages. Where is it? This one, I think. Yeah, I think this one is one of the best ones. Let's see. Yeah, really cool design. But I just missed that, like a ton of mounting points on the top specifically. So long story short, to answer the question, yeah, just unfortunately it's still right now just small rig.
Yep. I'm hearing you.
Hopefully, that said, they wooden camera, they are going to start designing custom cages. They're not going to have their like small, medium, large anymore. They're going to have camera specific cages.
Got it. All right. So we've got another half an hour. We have 2 topics to talk about. The first one that I threw up there was future of filmmaking, which is really just starting the conversation about virtual production. We don't have to go down the rabbit hole too much, but I do find that, that I'm becoming more and more interested in what's happening in that space. And when we say virtual production, we're not talking about remote production. We're talking about where what's happened with things like Mandalorian and a lot of the production that's happening with LED volumes starts to come down to normal human being access. Matt Workman is obviously doing a lot of stuff that's quote unquote, on the cheap, but at the same time, he's tied into that higher end of the market, working with a lot of companies, and has made a lot of investment into, very powerful PCs with graphics cards that can support what's going on. There it is, Unreal Engine, and you pouring a drink or something else, Unreal Engine and things like that. And Caleb, you and I walked NAB. I was just at Cinegear. There's a lot of trackers and a lot of interesting things happening, but most of them require at least 2 computers, very powerful computers to really do what you need to do with Unreal Engine and what's happening with that whole communication between, their cameras and the trackers and everything else. But there was a video that Josh Yo came out with. It's Yo, right? I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yep.
At Make Art Now.
Josh Yo.
Yo. And really interesting because there's this company called Axibo, which is making a new slider system. And part of the system is tied in with Unreal Engine in a way that you don't need all of the trackers and everything else. So you basically set up with just the slider system, and it has all of that in. It's his latest video. It's about 12, 15 minutes long. It's probably worth taking a look at. A lot of unanswered questions, and obviously in 12 minutes, you're not getting the whole picture. But it looks like you could take about 90% of the processing power away from Unreal Engine based on this solution. But it does sound like you might have to have them render stuff out for you or have things rendered out first, because the idea of a slider is that it's repeatable. It's repeatable motion. So I think it's going to be a great option for tabletop, maybe for interviews. Again, sort of thinking about that corporate world where you're not trying to shoot, basically scenes that take place in different locations. So I have my first Zoom with them tomorrow for half an hour to talk to them about it. I'm actually interested. The whole system's about $3,000, and I'm kind of fascinated with how we move towards both green screen and with projection or LED, this idea of virtual production where you're taking the green screen part of it is less interesting to me. I'm much more interested in whatever's behind the person, essentially helping light that. And I don't know. That's I think Caleb, you've had some time looking into that space too, so I'd love to get your feelings on it. And we'll talk about a possible challenge after this too. And you're sharp as a knife, Ben. That's true. Go for it.
Well, I think, side note, you should reach out to when you're talking with them, pitch them doing a series like you did on the Canon Cinema cameras, like a tutorial series.
Yeah,
because like that's what the space needs is not a bunch of influencers or reviewers being like, "Yo, virtual production, it's so cool." More like okay, before you invest in this, like let's actually break down how it all works in depth.
Well, that's missing. And I don't mind making the investment myself, potentially into the system, but that is what's missing. And that's what I said to them when I reached out to them. I said, I'm not looking for subscribers on my channel. My game is education. Like, how am I going to teach people this? And how can they learn this?
Not that those videos are bad, or Josh's video is fantastic. And
fantastic.
I can't imagine having to write that and condense all that information. Like, it has to be done.
Loved it.
Long form stuff like that is clearly your jam.
No, and that's the thing is it's aspirational. You need Josh's video to have aspirational. That's what got me. And I was like, okay, now where's the educational side of it? Yeah. Right. Okay, go. You're in. Sorry.
Oh, I don't really have much to add. It's very exciting. I think this is the first prosumer. It's not prosumer, but it kind of gives me prosumer vibes as to it's another way to tackle this problem. We're in those early years. I was thinking earlier today, it reminds me of just the dark ages of large sensor cameras. It was red, and when things were insanely expensive and not very good.
Yep.
We're right there right now with this tech when it comes to wanting to do it without millions of dollars. So hopefully in the next couple of years, if we can get it to the point where Unreal runs on, your what are all the chips now? M2 Ultra X
M2
Pro.
Ultra Pro Maxi
Studio
Maxi
Max.
pads. Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
it is. Yeah. When you can just because those GPUs are insane, and if they can port it essentially, then that's going to be crazy sauce. So I might wait personally until that. That said, someone did mention, and they're totally right, GPUs are finally back into Saneville, so you can afford a 3080.
Yeah. The other thing that, I don't know if it'll ever happen. I mean, there's a couple of things that I would love to happen. I would love it if that small company that makes Unreal would start a relationship up again with Apple. But we know that that's sort of like an Atomos and Black Magic.
That is true.
That's a problem there, right? But even on a much bigger scale. Number two, it would really be great if there was an Unreal 5 Lite. And I mean focused on just being able to quickly create and deploy environments. And not to the scale of Mandalorian or these big productions, but more geared towards the corporate and small to no crew market, where people can start contributing to a library of things and you can build stuff and you can start to use them in your productions. But I also feel like as this starts to evolve, we need to have a competitor to Unreal, because then it's just one, and it's very complicated. I mean, it's kind of like looking at Shake, right? Or DaVinci Resolve or something like that. There's a lot of complexity to the learning curve is very high, and if you want it
it could be a little easier to get into. I feel it will. Once, as we continue to, because this whole virtual production using Unreal is still kind of fresh. Yeah. So Unreal, if you look at the software, it's definitely more like, let's make some video games. And then the plugins get a little weird when it comes to other stuff. But the thing that's rough about competition is Unreal has been around for so long. Unreal Engine has been making games. That engine has been used some of the earliest 3D games, or very early 3D games. So it's kind of like DGI. It reminds me a lot of DGI. Like all these upcoming, like they just don't stand a chance. But that often changes with time.
Yeah. I mean, Ben, have you looked into this at all on your side?
No, I'm really interested, but I know nothing about what's coming, what's available, how accessible this is going to be for the likes of us.
Yeah.
I think I struggle just from my own context is kind of figuring out application for it. Personally, like all very cool, and I think it's a kind of probably my lack of imagination right now. But I think it's the potential for, I suppose, doing more from a single location is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. Yeah, that's a good way to bring it up, especially if we talk about the corporate or sort of industrial or the even to a certain degree the documentary side of it. It's, will we get to a place where we can right now we can go into any environment and put up a green screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what should really happen right now, I mean, everybody's seen the fact that we have not just light mats that exist, right, or flexible LEDs, but there are cloth-based ones that exist as well, right? So
Right.
why don't we, and why aren't we in the place right now where you can show up to an environment and set up a screen behind somebody and just make it any color you want, right? So you just say it's green, it's blue, it's gray, it's whatever it's going to be. But the evolution of that, I think that what's going to make this possible in the long term is you're not wheeling an 85-inch television into your environment. You're not trying to set up rear or front projection into your environment. The evolution of this is, and it might be 5, it might be 10 years away, it might be only 2 or 3 years away. You're showing up to an environment and you're basically stretching a screen over an 8x8 frame, but the screen itself is an LED volume. Right. And it's affordable. It's $10,000. It's not, $100,000.
Sure. I think that's really interesting. I think particularly in the way that talent and how talent interacts with what's going on that is kind of really interesting to me. I mean, just you do a reasonable amount of green screen work, or have done, right? So
unfortunately, in the last 2 years especially.
Right. Yeah, okay. So what, for that work that you're doing, what is the green screen? What are you keying on? What's going on to that background once that's finished, once that's gone through post?
A gazillion children's based environments. It's educational content for children. So a lot of it is not photorealistic. A lot of it is illustrated. Very little of it at the moment is animated, but the evolution of what we're talking about would be that whether it was shot on green screen or not, what's interesting about virtual production is that the parallax is a big part of this, right? It's the idea that you have a real camera in the real world, which is tied to a virtual camera in the virtual world. And they're communicating with each other so that when that camera is moving in the real world, you have parallax. And that's what's really, not only because look, I can set up a projector behind me and I can shoot 3 interviews in 3 different environments with people, and I can swap the keys and I can do it. It's not impossible to do that. But it's the camera movement and the lighting of the person and all of those things coming together that I find really interesting. But nobody wants to, bring a small truck to their production in order to have the horsepower to do that. And that's why I think we're still a ways away. But that's also why the Acebo slider solution is really interesting, because if they're here now, where are they going to be a year or 2 years from now? That's what's really interesting. They're starting to build the tracking and everything into the product. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think even just sort of going back to looking how even fairly low-end software is now so incredibly powerful in what that's able to do in terms of its AI.
Yep.
And when you get that combined with a system like that, I mean, the latest versions of Resolve and its depth mapping thing and all that stuff, all of that combined with proper data from a system like you're talking about really does become extremely interesting.
Well, and your
and
PC,
not far away.
because Yeah, because you have a pretty sweet PC, right? For all of the stuff you've been doing. So if you had some kind of volume or something, the main beauty is you can essentially create any background you want and have your laptop, and you'd be like, actually, I want a little more. I want the sun a little lower, and you just drag it over. Or let's put a rock there, and you just whoop. It's super click and drag. It's amazing. But the huge thing is we're starting to see is what Jem's talking about, the tracking, but it's not just camera tracking where you pick up a camera and you can walk around and the background changes, but now it's also lighting. So there's a demo with another company where essentially they took a light, they put a tracker on it, and then they had one guy with a handheld shoulder rig pointed at somebody else, and behind them Unreal was creating like a subway. And they took the light and they just panned it, and because it had a tracker on it, light hit the person in the real world and then lit the background and pan across the subway. Yeah. So that's where it starts to get crazy. It does. You shoot an interview, you pull up this gorgeous background, and then you just light it, and then without even having to deal with the software, it automatically is like, oh, your key light, let's go ahead and just directionally like aim it. And it's so everything is you don't have to spend all that time fiddling with your background anymore. You just you're done.
That is incredible and really exciting and really, really sad at the same time.
Super sad.
Some ways. So, totally. And in all of this stuff, and we've had this discussion many times, but I really struggle with cinema where I'm sort of where I know that things are not done with practical effects, and it kind of it takes me out of things a little bit. So and since last we spoke, which is a month ago, did you go and see Top Gun yet?
Yep.
Did we talk about this? I can't remember.
It was going to be tonight, but I can't. Just doing this is probably overdoing it.
We probably have destroyed
my wife's going tonight with my sister, and then I'll watch it with her again. She's going to IMAX. It's the last IMAX, I think, in our area.
We did talk about it on the last Cameron Flask. I think it had been out.
We did.
We did. It's it's.
Look, you about to talk about real versus fake?
Yeah, that I like, and generally Tom Cruise's stuff, as much as I kind of find him a very strange man in many ways. This kind of commitment to still doing as much in camera as possible, still practical effect as possible, kind of it is still. I don't know. It's maybe an age or generational thing. I don't know, but it appeals to me enormously, and although there was still obviously it wasn't all live action, but it was
no. But I have very little interest in the metaverse and that side of things. But I'm very interested in the evolution of production and what virtual production can become, especially when we have access to these tools. I mean, think about a scene like you were talking about, Caleb, where you have a scene where a car pulls up and out of frame there's a window and you can hear the car and the lights come in and somebody turns that light, but then it hits the person, but it's also communicating with that virtual light, which is part of that virtual environment, and it's all interacting with each other. So it is the most interesting version of the evolution of what we're doing with production, because I still think that we have to learn this connection between real and virtual. But once that happens, if you have skill sets where you understand how cameras work and you understand how lighting works and you understand how to light and where you want to place your lights, then that becomes really interesting and less disappointing, because it just means, okay, how can I expand my toolbox, which I think is pretty interesting. Yeah.
And real quick, for anyone who's like, what is all this about? Why do we care? Just go watch this video and you'll get a great idea as to what is so cool about Unreal and what you can do with lighting. It's just nuts, and how realistic things look. So,
not everything looks realistic. Yeah. Yep.
Sure. And I don't think it's a replacement for filming things in the real world. But what's amazing is now if you can think it up and imagine it, you could create it. There's no longer going to be, at some point, there's no longer going to be a barrier of, oh, well, I could do that if I was, working with Disney on the next Marvel movie. You could actually do it.
And there's the other side of it, which is sort of the same and sort of different, which is, oh my God, one of the highest grossing film of all time, Pandora, blah, 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 Avatar. So in Avatar is very much kind of this weird virtual production, but they're looking at monitors, but the cameras are tied to the environment that they're shooting in, right? So they're not doing any of the stuff that they're doing in Mandalorian. They're walking around a big warehouse and moving the cameras, but they're seeing exactly how those tracked characters are, interacting with it. So there's lots of versions of this, I think. But there's also a lot of crap out there that looks like shit, to say the least. So you need skills. Are we going to do a challenge next month, by the way? Oh, Ben, you wanted to say something. Go ahead and finish that thought that you had first, and then let's talk about a challenge.
I've forgotten the thought. I think Small Brown Fox's point was very good. That all this is great, and it will inevitably lead to abuse of it and endless stream of poor quality drivel.
Yeah.
I mean, how many have you two either had? I know it's a frequent thing that you get clients going, right, we want to shoot this green screen thing, and then you go, okay, so what are we replacing the green with? What are we doing on green screen? And they've no idea.
No.
I think at that end of things, obviously we're talking about things that are higher than that, and sort of for drama, that's all very exciting. But
most green screen environments don't look real. I mean, I've done corporate projects where, they've pulled from libraries where we're inside of a big interior space with outside windows, and even the library has like the wide shot and it has different angles, and you still have to futz with stuff to make it look semi-decent, and then you're always just throwing shit out of focus because it just looks so crappy.
And that looks terrible.
Yeah,
we just watched Doctor Strange in the multiverse or whatever, and it was like
a lot of it is terrible
so far, but
it's really great, but some of it is just so terrible.
Fake. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, especially when they're in jumping over things. It just looks like a bit like a really great video game, but it's just weird. Yeah, that whole opening scene is a little funky. All right, so challenge. Do we want to do something that is, kit based? Do we want to do something that's photography based? Do we want to do something that is video based? What's feelings? I'll go to Caleb first, and then Ben. Or Ben, you're doing the breath. Do it. Go for it.
I was doing the breath purely because I'm thinking as to when we'd be doing this for. Are we thinking for the beginning of next month?
It would either be the beginning of August, or we would give people 2 months to do it. Either one is fine with me. As much as a month seems forever, it does go very quickly too with everything that we're doing. So I would say first Wednesday of September is the challenge. Okay. So feelings, either of you, on what this could be? And I don't think it should be a kit challenge. I mean, I think we could do that by next month. But I'd love to do something that's at least in the creative realm and see what happens. Caleb, any feelings? Or Ben?
I mean, we haven't done a frame in a while.
No. No. And Shot Deck is doing their whole thing right now, which is a little bit different. But you're talking about like pulling from a movie.
We pick a movie, we pick a frame or two, or a theme. Maybe we could do a theme instead of a frame. Like maybe the challenge is pick a movie and pick a close up, a wide. Probably not a wide. Those are tough. Unless you have Unreal Engine. Ha! Or something. Pick a shot type from a movie in a particular frame. Doesn't matter. Or
I've got a better one. Oh, well, not a better one. Entirely on that thing. We take a shot and that's inspired by a film, and we don't say what the film is, and that's the thing. Is can we take a photograph, which then you two would be able to guess what that film is from that shot.
Interesting.
I like that.
That is interesting. It gives everybody, just so everybody knows here, and if you haven't been here before and we've done these challenges, they only work when you're part of this as well. You know, it's fine that myself and Ben and Caleb do it, but the most exciting thing for all three of us is when we see the things that you come up with. I mean, that's the most exciting part of it is the fact that you're a part of the challenge. So, you know, at the very least, if we're saying this is 2 months from now, we want 6 to 10 people who are hopefully, you know, a part of this challenge. And it can be more than that because, you know, we can always do follow-ups on that. So, yeah. Ben's concept, Ono Coffee, is essentially you get to pick a film of your choice. You're not telling us what the film is, and you create an image that's inspired by a frame or something related to that film.
Yeah,
and we present it. Yeah, and we present it, and it could be very literal that you're recreating a frame, or it could be that you're just inspired by it. And the people who look at the image may or may not be able to tell what the film is, but I think it makes for very interesting conversation.
I would imagine we would lean somewhat famous in an effort
to
actually sell it. Dumb example, the Lion King holding up the baby lion.
Yes.
Try to like sell that in your own image that's inspired.
Yeah.
You know, think about Indiana Jones, The Matrix, you know, Blade Runner, Rocky, Godfather, you know, I mean, it's going to be probably a film. If you want people to understand the inspiration, then it's probably not going to be Donnie Darko, you know, and it's maybe not going to be Little Shop of Horrors. I'm not saying that those things don't mean anything, but yeah. Rick, watch it. Oh my god!
You'd have to go for an all-time classic that everyone's seen, and you know.
Yeah, it is essentially a lighting challenge, Daniel. I mean, it's an everything challenge because you're taking a film. So if you don't know what Shot Deck is, I recommend you check it out. I think it's worth it as an inspirational tool. It's great for lookbooks and everything else. You know, I'm a subscriber to Shot Deck. I know it's ridiculous. Bart, you can't do Lion King. Yeah, you can do Lion King. How about Lava Cat? I mean, you know, that is definitely in the Lion King thing. So I think here it is. It's a film inspiration challenge. And are you down with this, Caleb? I mean, it's, you know, you get to pick the film. Sure. So whether you use Shot Deck or something else, you have to have, you know, let's say 1 to 6 frames from that film that are on deck and ready to go to show. Yeah.
1 to 6.
No.
I was thinking like one shot that everyone immediately sees that you've
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
That's from this movie and this thing.
Yeah. I'm getting cut off already. I'm not saying we're showing. You're going to make one frame that's inspired by the movie, but have up to like 6 frames from the movie. So then when you do your reveal, you can kind of show that. So here's the one image or the one frame from there, but the other frames are the frames that say, let's take a look at, you know, like, here's the movie at the beginning, the middle, the end, whatever it is. You get a sense. Because one of the things that separates the greats from me is the consistency, you know? It's like when I don't shoot feature films. It's like you watch Braveheart and it's like it all feels cohesive. When you watch great cinematographers, it does. Roger Deakins. Braveheart. Yeah, that goes. Daniel might do that.
Rick
Braveheart.
Territory there. Rick
I didn't say Braveheart. I said heart. Heart. I wear you on my heart. Your heart is. Oh my God. Yeah. So something like that. So I think that's 2 months from now. What's the first Wednesday in September? Anybody have that up on there?
September 3rd. Nope. Yep. September 3rd.
All right, so this is Wednesday, September 3rd. We'll put something up over the next week or so with the challenge, but everybody who's here, we're hoping at least a quarter of you submit to this. You have plenty of time. And
Wednesday,
your submission...
Hang on, did you say Wednesday, September the 3rd? Have you definitely
Correct.
got that right?
I didn't bring it up. I'm not looking at the calendar.
That's August. My bad. September the 7th.
September 7th. Okay. So Wednesday, September 7th. And the idea is that you have to submit to your inspirational frame, the one that you're actually creating, and that can either be a still or it can actually be video. It's totally up to you. If you want to go all out and have motion in it, then thank you, Cassie. We needed you. Your husband is in pain, but we're going to let him go now. It's time. Oh, shoot. It's 4:01, which means it's late. So we got to go. I love it when Cassie comes in. She's like, let's be done with this thing. I got to go see Top Gun. Yep. All right. So there you go. So it's going to be Wednesday the 7th. But we will be here next month, and we're just going to keep this whole thing. Maybe we continue a little bit of this virtual production. We answer questions, and we want to keep pushing you on this challenge. But start now. This is it. Yep. Start thinking.
Maybe we'll put the email and the challenge right up in this area.
Oh, yeah.
On the thing.
Yeah. You mean on the next episode?
Submitting the challenge. On the
next month? Yeah, on the next
one. So you
can
just reference the email right there.
Oh, good. Yeah, Bart. That's let's just phone it in. You, Cassie, we understand. Trust me, we're tracking. Everybody, love you. It's always great to see everybody here, and we really like this this community. Caleb, any final words?
Good show.
Yeah.
Oh, just I love what's happening here in the chat. Look at this, scrolling all the way up. There's a lot of love, a lot of questions, a lot of silliness, and I appreciate that. And thank you guys for the support and for hanging out with us faithfully. You know who you are. Yep, those of you who keep showing up.
Yep.
Every Wednesday.
Yep. Ben, final words?
Just lovely to see everyone. Always beautiful to hang out with you two. Miss you always. And,
same. Miss you too.
You know, and lovely to see everyone there. And hopefully we can all hang out again in person again soon. Yeah. But and everyone in the chat, it's been really good tonight. As always. Thank you.
Well, you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but one day maybe we'll do that. I have to go make not one but 2 spatchcock chickens. I just said it out loud, but it's true. And love you guys. I'll see you next time.
Love you.
I don't know. I gotta find the little cursor here now with all this. Come on, there it is, and goodbye.